Greetings, magical mages and spiritual sages. Welcome to Age of the Mage podcast. We are on episode 57. Today, I'd just like to talk a little bit about magic in general, something that can slide away from us and we can forget how powerful we truly are so easily. Magic exists in all those zones that we don't see, doesn't it? It lives in the liminal space between our dimension and others, between our wishes, our dreams, and the manifestations. It lives and it breathes and it works its way through these invisible channels and these otherworldly networks. And so sometimes living in our day-to-day life, it can be challenging to remember how close it actually is to us all the time and how much we can actually learn how to use it, how we can incorporate it into our lives so much more than we do. Now, we're all dealing with magical moments subconsciously all the time. We are walking around, and sometimes when our vibrations and frequencies go up, we just attract more things like synchronicity or more inspiration into our lives, and those are forms of magic. So I'm talking about more the kind of magic that we purposely want to work, a spiritual connection we want to establish, or something we want to achieve through a conscious intention. Our brain recognizes an emotion, and those two things start working together, and we know we want to do something about it. And maybe we want to apply some of our magic to it. Of course, things in our world come into being when we merge our magic with actions in the world. But there are times when magic can do more than any action could ever do. And this is another thing we forget. We get so wrapped up in our five senses and a physical world that constantly validates how much activity does, how much physical motion brings about responses, that we forget how powerful our invisible thoughts, emotions, projections, intentions, directions, how far reaching those can be. So I wanted to talk about just a few ways that we can use magic right now, this very day. You could identify a place in your life that you'd like to apply the forces of magic, the principles of spirit. You want to apply those to something right this very day, and you can do that. You can start if you haven't already, or you can start on an area or an interest that you haven't yet applied magic to. Magic requires belief, then we need to trust, and then we just need to try it and let it go. After that, just relax. Relax and know that all your intentions have been heard and received on the planes and in the areas where magic can do its work. And whether that's through a connection you have with your own higher self, or whether that's a connection to an angel or a loved one that's passed on, or another type of being, a star being or an inner earth being, in that space between where you have laid out your request or you've put your intention out and that space where it is received, this is the channel that carries that in a magical way to your destination, and then it can come right back to you. So I've listed 4 just to talk about today, areas that we might want to work some magic in. The first one I'm going to call Inner Alchemy. And we have to remember that magic is all about change. Magic is about transformation, transmutation, transference, transmittance, transcendence. Notice that trans keeps showing up. Across, movement from and to something. Magic is all about change. So when we say inner alchemy, I'm going to refer to this as those kinds of changes that need to take place inside of ourselves. And sometimes this can be hard to recognize. So I had an experience with this, and I won't go into too much detail right now, but I needed to do something, and I kept putting it off. I kept procrastinating, and I kept thinking it was the tasks that I didn't want to do that were holding me back. I was afraid. I had fears around this issue, and I just kept blocking. I had to do it. I had to take care of it, but it just kept getting pushed down farther and farther because I was interpreting, oh, I can't really do that task. I don't really know how to do it. And finally, I was up against the wall. This had to get done. And so I used a bit of angelic magic. And I reached out and said, I used a bit of a very simple ritual. And I reached out and said, I don't know how to do any of these things. And I'm just up against a wall and just help, basically was the essence of my call. And I didn't even realize what had happened at first because in my mind, I had a different set of responses all planned out. All right, I've put that magic out into the world, and now I'm going to find out somebody wants to help me with this, or this one task that I was fearing is going to be super easy, and I'm going to, blah, blah, blah. I had this all worked out. Well, just the very next morning, I woke up and got up, starting my usual routine, and I just had this feeling like, gosh, I could do that. I don't know why I've been putting it off so long. I'm just not going to worry about doing this perfectly, and I'm just going to take this first step, and I'm ready. No problem. I'm not even afraid today. I'm just so tired of this hanging over me that I'm just going to do this one part. And it had about 3, 4 parts that I had to do in order for this to come about, and then there was some trust. There was some trust in the universe that had to take place. And sure enough, the entire incident unfolded. Things just began to fall into place. I began to do these 1, 2, 3, 4 tasks that had been stopping me earlier, that for some reason just kept frightening me, and I couldn't get into them. I just started checking them off the list. I stopped worrying about the way they were done and it being perfect, and that about 3 days went by, and I took care of my end, and then I trusted into the universe. I sent that. I knew that I had put that out there, and sure enough, the universe came back to me with what I needed. And within 3, 4, 5 days, this task that I'd been putting off for 2 or 3 months was done, and done very nicely, done very well. This project, and it didn't even occur to me at the time, but when I looked back, in fact, that very day that it kind of got finished, it was over, I had a major realization. It was me that received the magic. I had an inner alchemy experience. I was changed on the inside. My fears were lifted from me. My procrastination was taken away. When I had done this in the evening and then gone to sleep, trusting that something would happen, I didn't even connect the fact that I wasn't afraid to tackle these things the next day. I didn't connect that my energy around the tasks and doing this, or that my fears, I didn't make the connection at first that it was me that had undergone the change. That's an example of inner alchemy. And we are probably more guilty of projecting onto externals more often than not. It's common. We all do it. We tend to think that the problem in our life is that person or that house, that neighborhood, that location, that message, whatever we feel troubled by. It is it's just human nature to say, oh, if that weren't the case over there, I'd feel a lot better. But the truth is that a great deal of the time, I don't want to say 100%, but it's probably pretty high. If we went through a transformation inside, that would shift the entire situation. It would begin by shifting our perception of the situation, It would then filter into an attractor field. Our attractor field would shift and change, and perhaps things that were bothering us would just not resonate with us anymore and drop away from our lives. Or we would know how to stand in our own truth and in our own light and reject those things that are bothering us in a healthy way. So 90%, maybe even higher, of things that we tend to think need to be changed on the outside of ourselves, externally to ourselves, really can be solved by inner alchemy. And magic is marvelous for this. And any way that you approach it is just fine. Whatever you find works for you, whatever type of magical experience you need to have that would trigger inner alchemy works. If it's a prayer, if it's calling on angels, as I did in that particular experience, if it's kitchen witchery and you just enjoy going in your kitchen and blending a potion together. Maybe even the use of things like Bach flower remedies that are excellent at working with energy inside of you and shifting emotional patterns. Anything that appeals to you that could start your process of a certain kind of transformation may have far-reaching results, much more than you might imagine as you begin and when you begin. So that's one thing to take a look at. If you're challenged by something, look at yourself first. Look at, I didn't even do that, right? I didn't even recognize it was me, but I asked for help, and I allowed the help to come. I received it. So you can even do that. Even if you are not in the space of recognizing this is perhaps something about you internally, just asking for the help and receiving the help that comes can teach you what it is. Perhaps it is external. Perhaps it does have to be taken care of separate of you. But if not, welcome the change and welcome the transformation, because that may give you the magic that you have asked for. All right. The second one. The second one's about unraveling and cutting cords. And I have had tremendous results with this. This works. So as with most types of magic, I don't know that any of us will ever get the exact answers to why all these things work. I think it's a technology of sorts that maybe we will understand in years to come and will be revealed to us. But for the time being, I have to tell you that I've had not only myself have had this particular thing help, but I have shared it with others over the years and received reports back that this worked. So let's say that you have a connection to something or someone that is unhealthy for you. You can literally cut the cords to that connection. And it sounds like nothing more than an imaginative process, but it's powerful. And I know that there's something to this. And it's like, again, it's a part of magic that works in those etheric realms, in these astral fields. And all you have to do is relax just a little bit and sit there and close your eyes. And if you just imagine that you're kind of looking at your body, you will be surprised to see that there are like tubes or little tendrils extending out from your body. And these are leading somewhere. All these little tubes, they lead somewhere. And this is one of the ways that our energy drains off of us, is that we attach to things throughout the day that bother us or that are negative. And of course, positive things too. But right now we're going to talk about some negatives. And so those tendrils will be kind of dark in color, like shadowy looking. And you can actually accidentally attach one of these energetic cords out to something, and then it can feed off of you as you walk around. And as you might imagine, you might accumulate a lot of these, especially if you've never done this simple exercise. You've never cut cords and sealed them and surrounded yourself with healing balm and golden and white light. You will be surprised that just the cleanup of all the areas you are letting your energy go out, that isn't helping you, those, just cleaning those up will make a big difference. And then you can always use this as a regular type of thing that you do every week or every few days. But if there's a particular problem, if there is someone that is just not connecting to you in a healthy way, you could cut that cord. Now, I will caution this is actually powerful and it will work, but it could have repercussions. In, I want to say, at least 80–90% of the cases that I shared with others and they used this, they did indeed report a um, a reaction from doing this. So let's say they were attached to a former lover and they couldn't get over that person. They just couldn't get over it. Well, eventually, when they are completely ready and they're ready to move on and heal, they would go ahead and cut that cord where they were sending this kind of grieving energy out from themselves, and it was connecting to this person's field. Now, when they cut that cord, very often they would hear from that person. Even if they hadn't heard from that person in a year or 2 years or a few months, suddenly what happens on the other end is subconsciously the person that the energy cord is attached to, feels the loss of energy that they may have been receiving from you. This is not, I'm not saying that they were doing this intentionally at all. In some cases that may be true, but they are receiving an energy, a form of energy. And when that is cut off, their their whole their holistic part of them, their higher self, their soul knows exactly who and what energy was cut off from them. And it will trigger sometimes a conscious reaction like, you know, I miss, so and so. I think I'm going to give her a call. Well, and it doesn't hold. It's not something that's real and true in most cases. In most cases, it is a reaction like a reflex. Yeah. And so I recommend that you cut cords when you are really and truly ready to move on and want to take your own energy back into your own field so that it can be used by you and you can regain strength and regain clarity and those types of things that you need and deserve. So maybe you do some inner alchemy work first, and then you get to that place of feeling whole and feeling healthy and saying, hey, I'm just going to clean my aura up. I'm just going to go down and take care of some of these cords and kind of pull them and unravel them out of my personal space and just do this little bit of cleansing. And it's powerful. It's powerful and it can be done today. It can be done in minutes. And the more you feel ready, the more you feel like, I want this for myself. I want to bring my good energies back home, the more it works and the more powerful it is. And when you do cut these cords and you do this cleanup, and you just imagine it. That's all it is. You just see I've worked with people who have never done one bit of magic in their entire lives, who had very powerful experiences with this. So you just see your body, and if you want to picture a great big pair of scissors, just cutting around your body with these, cutting all these kind of dark, shady tendrils off, fine. Whatever works for you. And then after you do that, you might want to just imagine for a minute or two, just take a little bit more time and see these kind of dark things withering. Just see them unraveling, leaving your energy field, just falling off, going, being absorbed by the earth or the space out there, and you're free of them now. And then just ask for light to bathe you. Ask for whatever color comes to your mind. Is it a rose-colored pink that needs to surround you in kind of a healing bubble? Is it a refreshing, rejuvenating springtime green? Is it golden light, like celestial feeling? Just bring that color and that light around you, and that will kind of seal this energy off and give you some relief from those connections. Now, obviously, if we are in the habit of reconnecting to things, if we're in the habit of grieving, if we're stuck on a particular issue in our lives where we feel like we are the victim and we see that as external to us, and so we feel good about this, but by the very next day we've kind of reattached negative energy to that, that's going to be a very individual thing. And you will want to start combining different types of magic to get a full healing for yourself. And you will need to clean more often. You'll need to cut those cords on a more regular basis if they are the kind that are really tugging at you to reconnect. So there's an example of something I've had very powerful experience with, and anyone can use it, anyone. And I want to just cover one more area today, and that's kind of healing and also talking a little bit about weaving. We're going to finish up with the magical archetypes in the next day or two with the last archetype of the weaver. So we'll be discussing more about that. But weaving is kind of a large scale healing. And so if you have a need for some healing in your life, you can begin to kickstart all the magic, all the spirit, all the soul work that can contribute with that. There are so many ways available to us to heal. And sometimes we just get going down one channel and we kind of get tunnel vision. I just need that one medicine. And if I get to my doctor and he gives me that one medicine, I'll get better. There are multitudes of ways to heal. There are alternative healing modalities in abundance. And there's so much you can even do on your own. My goodness, you can write the word heal, Heal, on a piece of paper and put it under a fresh glass of water. And that water absorbs the molecular crystalline structure that underlies the word heal or healing. And you drink that water knowing that it's going and merging into your body, supporting you on a healing journey. So it's as simple, it can be reduced to very simple things. Now, am I saying that each one of us could heal a very serious situation by drinking a glass of water? I'm not trying to say that, but I'm also not going to rule it out. That's very individual. And it depends upon the magician and the strength, the power, and the belief and trust and try. That those words of I believe, I trust, and I try, that comes from the magician to determine how far each one of these things will go. But I will guarantee this much, that anybody, even a downright lousy magician or someone just starting to understand the forces, the mechanisms behind magic, behind what prompts the spirit to work, anyone can do the first parts to any of these things. Anyone can kickstart, can jumpstart, can trigger, can activate by taking the first step. They can activate the process. It can begin. Now, whether you will sabotage it, shut it down, stop the process, or allow it to continue is entirely up to you, up to the individual. And some of us are really good in some areas. Like some people are super healing and staying healthy, and they can apply their magic and their strong emotions about it and their strong positive thought energies, and they just naturally are able to keep that going, and yet they have terrible times with relationships, or they have hard times with abundance and money. And of course the opposite's true. We have people who are struggling just day after day with a physical ailment of some sort, and yet they're just fine with their relationships, or they do very well financially. So we have areas, everyone has some that's a challenge, and of course it's the challenging area that does require some more trust and more practice and more experience, because that's where we're growing, that's where our muscles are stretching. But we can all start the process, and we can all take it a step at a time and see what occurs to you after that first step. Sometimes a healing process is about opening up to the next thing we need to do. If you are super locked in, you're just focused on the way this is going to happen, And it's not happening that way. For some reason, it's just not coming about. Sometimes we have to let go of our tunnel vision and open back up to the expanse of the magical fields. Open back up to what the universe could really do, which is maybe unfathomable to us at the moment. Maybe we cannot even imagine what the universe could hand us or do for us. But we need to be awakened to what that next step might be. So let's pretend let's take our water example. Let's say we need some healing and we just don't know what to do, and the paths that we were taking aren't working, and we for some reason we've hit the wall here. Well, start with the water. Everyone can do that. Everyone can write out the word healing and put it underwater and let that water glass sit and absorb that word for a couple hours, and then start sipping on that water and keep that happening. Keep that healing word underneath water for days if necessary. And you know what could happen? It'll seem like nothing. It'll seem like, I don't know where that idea came from, but it just occurred to me to um, check out the homeopaths in my area. For some reason, a friend of mine's been telling me about homeopathy, and I don't know, it just occurred to me today to look them up. Oh, well, look at there. There is one in my area. But I don't know if I really want to call. I don't know. I don't know if I feel right about this. And so another day goes by and you're drinking that water. And maybe the next day you think, well, what harm is it going to do? I could make a call. I could see if they have an appointment time. I could go talk to someone, get another viewpoint on this. And the point is that little by little, as you begin healing, you won't even know you're healing yet. It will seem as if you are just getting information, just getting new thoughts. But if you keep following with a field that is open to healing, and with your action of preparing and drinking that water and respecting that magic can happen, believing that it can, you've opened yourself up to receive the information that your own higher self wants you to receive and that you may have been blocking before. So today's episode was just a glimpse into 3 ways: the inner alchemy, the unraveling, cutting, cleansing type of process, and the healing or weaving back together type of energy that we sometimes need in our lives. This was about reminding us that magic is available to you right now. This very moment you are hearing my voice. It's magic, isn't it? That I can convey this to you across miles and across time. Yes, we know it's a technology now, but I'm even able to convey it through energy means. When I'm speaking, I'm sending you energy through an etheric network. So I'm offering you the oomph and the boost to go ahead. Go ahead. Take a step in one of these directions that you perceive would help you, would enrich your life. If a certain thing happened, this would be great. This would just give you a boost that you need. Go ahead. Start it. You can do it. You can do it. And it's one step at a time. But when you take that one step, the second step will reveal itself to you. What's your task? Your task is to stay open. Your task is to hold belief, hold trust in the process and in the fact that this enormous magical mechanism, this system that surrounds you, is actually on your side, actually responds to you moment by moment and is willing to work with you to bring about the intentions that you have that will help you and, as I say, enrich your life, bring you more pleasure, more joy. So I will close for now and wish you all the best with this. Just do a little brainstorming. Try something really simple at first, just like I did when I had this darn project that I just couldn't put together, just couldn't get it going. I had no idea how powerfully and how fast just opening up and reaching for help into the magical spheres, into the spiritual planes. I had no idea how fast it would come back to me and take care of me and help me with the process. I wish this for you. I wish that you will find that your first step leads to a second and a third and a fourth and brings about what you desire. I will return soon, and I will say goodbye for now.